Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. We're gonna get started in just a moment, but before we get going, I just want to do a quick mic sound check, visual check, make sure everyone can not only hear me and hear us, but you can see the screen. And if anyone can just find the questions box and just give us a yes, no. If you just see my mouth moving, don't hear anything, let us know so we can get going. Okay, perfect. Got a sound and screen okay, so appreciate that. Um, Got another yes, so we're good to go. So thank you for joining today's presentation all around MSP password management and expanding your IAM offering. My name is Dakota. I'm on the partner marketing team here at JumpCloud. I'm happy to be joined by Antoine Jabara, our co-founder and GM of MSP Business, and Rob McGrath, a product manager here at JumpCloud. Before we kick it off to them, just a quick housekeeping. At any time during today's presentation, please put any questions you have in the questions panel. We have time allotted at the end of the presentation to go through those. But this way you can jot them down as you think of them and we can kind of backtrack with that. This session is also recorded. So if for some reason someone from your team couldn't attend, you'll get that recording at the probably tomorrow. And that way you can share it with them and get any questions they have answered there. There's going to be a brief survey at the end of the presentation. Let us know how we did, anything that you wish we didn't go over that you want to hear from us, and any follow-up questions there. We'd love to hear what you think and how we can improve this going forward. So with that, I would love to hand it over to Antoine to begin today's presentation. So take it away, Antoine.
Thanks, Dakota. Hi, everyone. So that's the agenda that we're going to cover today. I will start with why password management is as relevant as it's ever been today with all the advances that we've seen in the last couple of years, etc. Then we'll discuss how password management fits in a modern identity and access management stack. That's an important point to cover because there are now better ways to authenticate into systems than with passwords. So we'll see where password management fits in. And then we'll give you an overview of what the JumpCloud Password Manager for MSPs is. Then Rob will do a live demo of the product, and we'll end with a Q&A section. So with that, I'll just jump in. So password management is important for reasons that we all know. I'm just repeating here things that you know. 80% of data breaches are caused by weak or reused passwords, and that's still a very high statistic today. The cost of a data breach continues to rise. In 2022, it's 4.35 million, up from 3-point-something million a couple of years ago. I remember that number. And password management can be part of your core offering and can complement your existing stack, helping you generate more revenue, positioning you better as security-focused MSPs, etc. So these are some of the reasons why password management is still important. Now, in a modern identity and access management stack, you're already doing a lot of things. You're doing single sign-on, you have MFA, you have conditional access policies for zero trust, you're authenticating users to Wi-Fi and VPN through cloud radius authentication, you're using LDAP, cloud LDAP to authenticate to on-prem legacy, like on-prem appliances in general. Password management comes in whenever these options are not available. As most of you know, a lot of software vendors, SaaS vendors, still don't support single sign-on or paywall single sign-on under an enterprise tier that's prohibitively expensive. And that's really a bad practice in general, and that's reducing over time. And I'd say we have coverage over like a very high number of applications today. But the reality of the matter is passwords are still being used today. We still have to rely on passwords. And the problem with passwords is that we rely on the end users to create them, to manage them, to remember them, to protect them. And this is a very bad idea because, as you all know, end users are the weak link in your cybersecurity infrastructure in general. So password management comes in 2023 to complement your existing IAM offering. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have told you that you build your IAM offering around password management. That's going to do the bulk of your authentication. And then you start offloading different types of services into passwordless authentication mechanisms. Today, that has shifted. I would say it's mostly around single sign-on, MFA, conditional access policies, etc. And then you do password management to fill the gaps. Not only that, but password management is going to help you detect shadow IT situations where you have users sign up on their own to different types of systems without your approval or knowledge in general. And that creates a gap, that creates security concerns, that creates a decrease in productivity at some point when you have like competing products that are being used by different people within your organization, and it increases your costs as well. So this is where password management comes in. Now, the JumpCloud Password Manager for MSPs is a password manager specifically designed for MSPs. It's designed to allow you to deploy it internally to manage your own passwords and your customers' admin accounts. And you can also deploy it to your customers through our multi-tenant portal to provide them with password management capabilities. We see a lot of our partners charge for password management as an add-on. A lot of others bundle it into their existing stack. So some of them charge on top, others absorb the price. Like there's no true way of doing things, but we're seeing more and more of our partners adopt our password managers. So what does the password manager do at a high level? It helps your users, your clients securely store and automatically fill passwords across web pages and browsers, mobile apps on iOS and Android, and desktop applications. It enables seamless sharing of passwords between different users and teams. So they already share passwords, but they do it insecurely today through email, Slack messages, post-it notes that they stick on someone else's screens that still exist, obviously, etc. That gives you, or password manager gives you a secure and seamless way of sharing passwords with other users and with different teams. The password manager gives you centralized visibility and control from the JumpCloud multi-tenant portal. So you can not only deploy it, manage it, etc. from there, but you can also get visibility as to what our users are doing in the password managers, what passwords they're storing, and the health score or the security score of the passwords that they're showing. So you'll be able to see weak, reused passwords, old passwords, and it's gonna position you to be able to have these important conversations with your customers to prompt them to start thinking more about password hygiene in general. And I would say the most important point is that our password manager is natively integrated within the JumpCloud directory platform. So with JumpCloud, you get single sign-on, MFA, Radius, LDAP, conditional access policies, and password management. And in 2023, we don't believe that you should rely on point solutions anymore to do different things and find ways to connect them to each other. That's going to increase your cost, your operational costs and vendor costs. It's going to reduce security. It's going to decrease customer satisfaction. It's going to decrease your own team's satisfaction in general because your setup is way more complex. With JumpCloud's password manager being integrated within the JumpCloud directory platform, you're really getting everything that you need out of the box that you can either use fully or use partially to complement your existing stack. So let's talk about the different types of password management architectures, because that's important. And our password manager differs in many ways to different types of solutions. We think in a better way, in a much better way, specifically for MSPs. So you have three types of password management solutions. There are offline password managers like KeePass, for example, that store passwords locally on one device. There's no sharing, there's no centralized admin controls. It's not designed for enterprise use cases. So for most businesses, a password manager that's fully offline is not gonna satisfy all the criteria that you need out of it, but that's that. So highly secure, highly inconvenient. Then you have cloud-based password managers, and cloud-based password managers are the ones that we're mostly accustomed to. So they store the passwords in the cloud. The passwords are encrypted with a key that's managed by the user. So the user still has to create, manage, and remember that key that's called a master password. And that's one of the big flaws of these systems, because as we discussed a couple of slides ago, users are the weak link in your security stack, and giving them keys to the kingdom is not always the best idea. Now, sure, you could layer on top MFA, conditional access policies, really make it more complex, but that's what you're making it. It's more secure, but way more complex. So the advantage of cloud-based password managers in general is that they're highly convenient, but less secure than offline password managers. And then the final approach, which is the approach that we created here at JumpCloud, is the hybrid approach. So hybrid approach is the best of both worlds, we believe. So instead of storing passwords in the cloud and syncing them to users and having them manage the keys, we're actually storing these vaults locally on the endpoints of these users. But the vaults sync in an end-to-end encrypted way between the different devices of users. So you get the convenience of a cloud-based password manager that can be accessed on any device, that syncs seamlessly, that enables sharing, that enables centralized admin controls, etc. And you get some of the security benefits of keeping the information offline, and most importantly, removing the need for a master password. So with the JumpCloud Password Manager, your users seamlessly authenticate to the password manager using their biometrics or a local PIN. So it's a hybrid approach that optimizes convenience and security in one package that makes sense in general. Now, why would you adopt the JumpCloud Password Manager as an MSP? One, we would say for its decentralized storage architecture. So your customers' passwords, the one that should remain with them and are synced seamlessly across their own infrastructure, but you still get control from the admin console side of things. It completes your IAM stack, so it's deeply integrated within the JumpCloud Open Directory platform. You get all of the capabilities on JumpCloud and complement them with our password management offering to really offer a comprehensive solution to your customers, and it's designed for MSPs. So we do support, we're multi-tenant natively. We do have a single pane of glass. We allow you to do more with less actions in general, and that's an area that we're constantly investing in and are going to continue investing in. One thing that's missing from the slide is that with JumpCloud, we offer a partner program. And our partner program is really going to help you market JumpCloud to your customers, deploy JumpCloud to your customers, sell JumpCloud to your customers, and we're really your ally in making your experience with JumpCloud successful. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rob, who's going to walk you through a demo of the password manager.
Perfect. Thank you, Antoine. So a quick introduction of myself. I'm a product manager here at JumpCloud. Specifically work typically with the MSP products. So if you have any questions or things around that, absolutely feel free to reach out to me. But also would love to show you today our password manager because it's very near and dear to my heart. And I'll show my screen. In this case, I'm going to show you first the end user experience of what this is like for the average user that's brought into using the JumpCloud Password Manager. But also, I'll give you a sneak peek in what this looks like for the admins on this side of it when it comes to viewing the general password health and just the admin portal of JumpCloud in general. So in this case, I have the desktop app on my Windows virtual machine. If it's a little slow, I have like a ton of Windows updates that have been nagging me that I've been avoiding to do it because that would upset the demo gods very poorly. But basically, this desktop app is showing the passwords that I have either imported or have been shared with me. So I have a handful of passwords in here, and I can see that this is stored locally, again, in that hybrid fashion. So if I was to add another device here, it would sync over there, but it would be stored individually on those devices as opposed to some massive cloud database. And we have different types of items I can have in here. So I have passwords. I could technically store credit cards in here for quick access for autofilling there. Secure notes I like to use as kind of like a dumping ground. So if I had like a secret or like security question or something like that, or a license key that I want to have on hand, but don't want to just save it on a text doc in my desktop, can totally just drop that in here and save that for myself. 2FAs, of course, I didn't put a name for it. 2FAs, we do have a built-in 2FA authenticator to let you use TOTP codes for any login. So you can see here that I've actually set this up my email account or like a monday.com account, which we'll come back to in a second. And I can also store important information that I don't have to go and like track down my wallet for. So I can even save like my passport, my driver's license in here, because that is incredibly frustrating trying to find your wallet, especially when your kids have been running around with it. And I'm definitely experienced that personally. But you can also even save addresses for offices or your home or whatever else and be able to have like a nice centralized location on your desktop that's not just sitting in plain text somewhere. Now you'll notice on the other side, there's another button right here for folders. This is really obviously for a password manager. The difference between just saving a password and an actual password manager is the ability to not only use the passwords for autofill, which is kind of a basic feature, but also share them when you're in a pinch, particularly in an enterprise environment. You want to be able to share this securely. I've also been an MSP technician and an IT, help desk admin, and I've seen some insanely scary things in the wild of passwords written on post-it notes, domain admin passwords written on post-it notes under keyboards at bank kiosks. Yes, and that, oh my God, mind-melting scariness. So those kind of things, we don't want to let happen there. So with the ability to share passwords, I can have passwords that are just saved locally for me. So this personal folder is only stuff that I have access to. I can share passwords with other teams. Like if I have an accounting team internally, I can share accounting passwords with them, or even like social media accounts. Some very popular options with that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like to actually just log in, and I'll show you some of the permissioning sides of things as well. So for instance, if I want to go to monday.com, again, my Firefox is insanely slow on this VM, and I really don't want to restart it because it's scary. But if I log in here, detects a login field, drops in username and the password. If my Firefox is not running horribly, I get this 2FA token, automatically drops it in, I log in. This works with 2FA for like Google accounts, for Microsoft accounts, as you saw, Monday.com accounts. I can even go, for instance, like I want to manage my website. I can go to my Squarespace account, log in there as well, and be able to quickly and easily get across the web without having to do this. As an admin, I would obviously I always like to stage users ahead of time. So I would usually create these accounts ahead of time, get them ready to be brought into the password manager and drop them in. So that way a user's ready to go pretty much from day one. And you know, the password manager, the extension has all the normal bells and whistles of being able to see the passwords. You can filter by folders and item types. You can even search. I also have a password generator baked into this as well. So if I want to create a password on the fly, I don't have to come up with the dreaded, password 123, or the ultra super secure adding an extra exclamation point to the password whenever it expires. Spoiler alert, that's exactly what your users are doing, by the way. Or they're using their birth year, or they just change the number, like they change a random number. It's very alarming. But with that in mind, you can always come in here and customize the extension to work along as well. So if you ever have like specific behaviors that don't work well on certain websites, you can always make it so it don't automatically send a login request. You can change it so the behaviors of like the browser only work with exact domains. That's particularly helpful for admins who work with pages that have several subdomains involved, and you may not want the same credential to be used on every single one of them. So you can make it so this is ultra specific and make the extension highly customizable for you. But the nice thing is, like, let's say I'm a user and I have a password that I just added, and I want to share this with my team. So as you can see here, like I have my MySpace account, but believe it or not, guys, MySpace is coming back. I was actually surprised. MySpace, by the way, is still a website. Didn't know that, but hey. But let's say I'm trying to push a real strong social media campaign on MySpace. I can go ahead and add this for my marketing team. I've set up my account. I save this. Now that's going to go to my social media folder. Anybody who has access to that folder will now be able to view that password. So I can come into folders, and let's say I want to go to my social media. I can view who has access, like what items are in here. I can view the details of this. I can update the name if I want to update a description as well. To view the individual users, so I can perhaps add other users in here. So like, let's say I want to add Antoine. Oh, I don't know if you're part of this company or not, but that's okay. But like, let's say I want to add Kurt or something like that. To this, I could add this, but more importantly, this is a newer feature, is the ability to add this to user groups. Obviously, you don't want to have to go through and add individual users one by one. So we wanted to make sure we added the user groups capability to this. So I want to obviously add my marketing team there. But let's say my accounting team wants to see why in the world they suddenly see thousands of dollars going to my MySpace campaign. Well, I'll give them access to go ahead and get to my billing information. And now accounting has access to my social media accounts. And with my accounting over here, I can even share important permissions with that. So like I come in here, same thing. I don't have access for my QuickBooks for them. I can add it for accounting, and now they'll have access to this. Very easy, very streamlined. Again, using the hybrid model where the data is still local, but the sync events are then sent to their apps. The data is then sent over to them, but it's never residing in this like general and like single cloud database, which is the vulnerability that we've seen exploited very, very recently in a very damaging way with other competitor type products. So that's the general synopsis for end users. I mean, the nice thing is you also have a security dashboard here as well. So for instance, you'll see that I have a ton of weak passwords with my ultra secure password 1234 type accounts, and this is being flagged immediately. And the nice thing is I can even see if it's been reused. If it's old, which none of these are really old because these are brand new accounts, many of them, you'll also see that many of these are very weak. Now that's one thing to see this on the end user's perspective. From an admin perspective, hey, the screen swap worked. When it comes to the view here, as an admin, we both grant visibility, but also maintain some level of abstraction where they won't be poking around in end user passwords. So you can see here that you get a synopsis. Now this is in the JumpCloud admin portal. You get the synopsis of all the status at the top level when you're in this password manager section. Now, obviously, JumpCloud is a cloud directory, so we have a ton of powerful cloud directory capabilities, including access to on-prem resources like storage or printers or whatever else you may use LDAP for locally, your radius for Wi-Fi authentication, VPN connectivity, all that. We have hundreds, I think we're up to 850, 860 something SSO connectors pre-built for you, including the ability to add custom ones. So the sky's the limit with SSO. And obviously for the ones that don't match nicely, we have Password Manager to let you achieve whatever else you may need. If it's a service that you don't want to pay the premium for single sign-on for, or if it's like a line of business or like bespoke solution that relies still upon username and password, we know there's a million reasons to use a username and password still. So we want to obviously give you the Password Manager. And now with Password Managers here, I can enroll entire user groups, grant access to the Password Manager app by simply adding them to a group, and I can see all these different groups that are part of my cloud directory. I can see the users in here as well, who would have access, who's actually using it, and even sort by password health. So I can see myself, I've been flagged with a dreaded medium password health. I would argue it's probably weak, but I do have some decent passwords mixed in with my really horrible ones, so it averages out. I have shared folders to give me a snapshot into what's being shared around. So you could see this accounting folder that I have all these passwords for QuickBooks is alarmingly weak, and I'm getting notified that has been, was created today and it's all weak. So I probably want to, bug all those users that have access to it. And I can come in here and click weak passwords, see who it is, and get a general overview of what kind of access they have, what passwords they're using, but also I don't see the passwords themselves. We want to maintain the privacy of the end user and the integrity of the end user's data, while also giving the ability for the admin to be like, hey, John Doe, you mind not using horrible passwords everywhere, and maybe update your accounts to make it so one password doesn't breach your Bank of America, QuickBooks, Instagram, and your TikTok account all at the same time. So with that being said, this is the general, summary of password management. But as you can see, it fits perfectly into that gap that may not be addressed by LDAP, Radius, or SSO when it comes to user authentication methods using JumpCloud. And all this I'm showing you now is for one company at a time. As an MSP, you would be able to see this exact same experience in any one of your customers, and they're isolated as individual tenants. So you don't have to worry about logging in and out of the corporate account that you have for whatever password manager you may have implemented currently, and you don't have to worry about maintaining that general master password that you cycle to all of your technicians. As an MTP admin, you can jump into any org that you have access to, see the permissions and the capabilities of the users inside this company, and have unique password security and strength scores, and a unique experience for every tenant. So, and we make it super simple to switch between them. Yeah, that's it. That's the general, demo of our password manager. We're really excited to get this in your guys' hands and see how you guys use it. Back to you, Antoine.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, Dakota, yeah, perfect. That's what I needed. I'm sharing my screen again. So as Rob covered, our password manager is pretty extensive in terms of feature. It's available on all major platforms, Mac, Windows, Linux, iOS, Android, and all major browsers as well. And it's part of our comprehensive open directory platform that's going to give you all of the things that you need for identity, access, and device management across all of your customers. So if you want to use the password manager, it's available in the admin console of any of your tenants. Just go in, activate it, and start using it. If you are on our JumpCloud for MSP package, it's included at no additional cost. So if you're on there, that's fine. And if you're not sure if you're on JumpCloud for MSPs, reach out to your account manager, and they'll give you all the information around the package you're currently on. Now we're going to run a small, ask you a small question on the screen. So if you want to know more about the password manager, are interested in diving deeper, understanding better how it works, etc., indicate, let us know by clicking on the yes or yes, but not until next month. That's going to ensure that the right person, like your account manager on our team, reaches out and is able to answer any questions that you might have from a technical perspective, billing perspective, pricing perspective, general usability perspective, etc. So the poll should be on your screen now. Let's give it a couple more seconds. Okay. Perfect. So with that, the last section of this webinar is Q&A. So you've asked us a series of questions in the chat, and I guess Dakota, you're gonna curate, right, these questions?
Yep. You got it. Yeah, so we have a couple questions around pricing and packaging. So as Antoine said, we'll have your account manager reach out to you. That way we can kind of understand what you're looking for better and kind of get you in the right time frame on that. So a couple other ones. So can the password group / folders be hierarchical, or are they just flat?
So they're flat at the moment. We're looking at options to add a second dimension, potentially through tags. We don't like the idea of hierarchical folders because they create access management nightmares. And we've seen that in the past in other solutions and in experiments that we've run, where when you end up with a huge stack of permissioning layers, it just becomes a mess. Anyone has access to anything, and you like in the future, like 6 months after deployment, it becomes difficult to manage. We believe that this can be solved through tags, and tags complementing folders is, in our opinion, the winning solution there. That gives you the flexibility to filter quickly, but still the compartmentalization of folders.
Do you support import from other password managers? They listed one in particular, but I don't know if we want to go into competitors there. So I think just roundabout other password managers that we import from.
Yeah, we have an import wizard that's fairly sophisticated. It supports all major password managers, and if you don't see your password manager on the list, we have a generic importer that you can use that works 99% of the time. I would say most of our partners that use our password manager today start by importing passwords. So it's a very common motion for us, and we believe that our current importer is pretty mature. Not only will it get the passwords in, but if you have folders in that other password manager, it will recreate them within the password manager and re-add the passwords that you had there into these specific folders.
Awesome. In addition to alerting you to a previously used password, does the platform advise if passwords were found in a breach?
So not at the moment. That's a feature that we're gonna add in the future, but in general, so weak passwords are well covered. So they're an exhaustive set that takes into consideration advanced computational powers that hackers have today. But with that, we do realize that sometimes you can have a very complex password that was leaked in a data breach that's now out there. So we'll be adding these capabilities hopefully this year.
Awesome. This is a two-part question. So is it SOC 2 compliant, and is there reporting for who has used passwords and logged in?
So it's a new feature of ours. So we're currently going through the SOC 2 process, and we should be SOC 2 compliant by June or July, so in a couple of months. If you want to know more about that, reach out to us and we'll give you the exact information about when we'll get there and what we can do in the meantime. What was the second part, Dakota?
Yeah, is there reporting for who has used passwords and logins?
Yeah, so we do have directory insight capabilities. So in JumpCloud in general, as you might know, we have directory insight section that takes on any type of user-related or access management-related logs and consolidates them in one place. The password manager is no exception to that. So we do pipe the logs from the password manager to the directory insight section where they're searchable, filterable, exportable.
Awesome. And then how long has this product been generally available?
So it's been generally available since end of October, around October 26th. So we've had a good 6-7 months. We believe that so we've added a lot of features in the last. So we have an aggressive roadmap in general for the year, but a couple of months into the year, we believe that most of the things that we had planned for the first half of the year have been accomplished. We have a couple of big releases still coming in the next couple of months, but yeah, we're trending in the right direction. The level of maturity of the product is higher and higher every month, and we believe that at this point, like we have customers that have thousands of users already on the password manager and that are happily using it.
Awesome. Can you see what passwords users are sharing between each other from within the JumpCloud admin console?
Yes, so within the admin console, there are 3 tabs. There's an overview tab that shows you the high-level information, and there's a users tab where you can drill into the user and see which passwords they have access to, their password health, etc. And then there's a shared folders tab. The shared folders tab is going to show you all the folders that have been created, or the shared folders that have been created across your tenant. When you click on a folder, drill in, you're going to see the users that are part of the folders, the items that are part of the folders, and you're going to be able to make changes to the privilege level of users, which is something that we did not cover before. So when you share a password with a user through a shared folder, you can give them one of 3 permissions. You can either be an admin on the folder, just give them full rights to edit users, edit passwords, etc., and view passwords. Then they can be item managers. That means they do not have the right to add or remove users, but they can manage the passwords in the vault. And finally, you can have, there's the lowest tier, which is an autofill user, basically a folder member. That's in that setup, the user cannot copy the password, they cannot view the password, but the password manager will still autofill the password in the browser on behalf of the user. So, and that can be controlled from within the admin console.
Awesome. What operating systems and browsers does it support or not support?
So we support all major operating systems and all major browsers, with Safari being the only one that hasn't been released yet. But I was told this morning that Safari is currently in the final stages of testing and should be out in the next month or so. So once we have that, then we'll cover Mac, Windows, Linux, iOS, Android, Chrome, Chromium-based browsers, Firefox and Gecko-based browsers, and Safari and Edge as well, of course. No Internet Explorer support.
Awesome. I think we covered this from the end user perspective, but I'm assuming this one's more of the admin perspective. So can we automate the sharing of passwords with users that are in a specific user group?
Yes, and that's, I would say, one of the big advantages that we have. In general, binding a user to a group is a very powerful thing in JumpCloud, because that's how you give a user access to single sign-on applications. That's how you like give them access to different types of things. And the password manager behaves the same way. So if you create a shared folder, add the marketing team into that shared folder, for example, that user group. Any person that's added or removed from the marketing team user group from within the admin console will automatically get or lose access to the passwords that are in the marketing folder. And that's kind of the way we want users to use it, because it's so seamless, right? And like, to take a step back, we don't think that, in general, we don't see the industry going in a direction where you'll have in 5-10 years 15-point solutions for different things. One thing for MFA, one thing for password management, one thing for that. We think that the consolidation is going to continue, and we're at the forefront of that, obviously. So what we're trying to do is build a unified offering that's identity-centric, so not device-centric, not access-centric, like identity-centric in general, where you can do everything that you want to do from an identity, access, device management perspective from one unified interface without having to jump between different vendors and experiences, etc. So that, like, knowing that helps you kind of predict where we're going to go next, and predict what types of features we're going to continue building. Anything that helps us further automate this, unify this, make it more seamless, more secure, etc., is an area that we're either currently actively focusing on or have a plan to go into this year and in the coming years.
Awesome. So we have a couple questions around mobile and availability on mobile, and then in particular, if the password manager app can fill passwords on iOS or Android.
It can on both. So we can autofill passwords using the native autofill capabilities. It looks like a native experience, as if you're on the core operating system doing its own autofill. It's a pretty seamless experience.
Awesome. Can we secure the password vault using a hardware key such as a YubiKey?
So that's an interesting question, because that's a very valid point when you have a cloud-based password manager, right? Because the passwords are in the cloud, and you have the first factor, which is the password, And a second factor that you need, and that second factor could be a local biometric, could be a YubiKey, it could be a time-based one-time password, etc. So that's very relevant in these cases. In our case, the password vault is only stored locally on the device and is encrypted locally using local keys that you can decrypt with biometrics like Touch ID or Windows Hello, or with a local PIN. So in our case, the two factors are, one, having the device, and that's a very hard factor, because if I'm in another geography and I don't have the device, then I don't have access to the vault in general. And the second factor is your ability to unlock the vault itself. So unlocking the machine, first of all, on which you can set up YubiKey support in general. So that's a layer where you can add that type of additional security, but also then unlock the password manager using that biometric or that local PIN. So we think that in our case, 2FA is actually built in, and you don't need to layer on these additional requirements that add steps to the user. And that's the way it should be, we believe, in general. Once you authenticate to a device as an employee of a company, then if you have the right setup in place, i.e. JumpCloud in that case, JumpCloud should be able to authenticate you to any type of application, service, website, without the user having to do a lot more things. Now, for sure, you could add conditional access policies that re-prompt the user for their MFA when trying to log into a cloud account. That's all possible, but you should have that frictionless access capabilities, and that's what we enable with our hybrid approach to password management.
Awesome. You touched on it quite a bit, but there's a couple questions and deserved concerns around using password managers and security. So do you want to go into a little bit more detail around our security and reliability testing that's been done?
Yeah, so we have a very stringent security process internally where any new feature that's built, and we mean by feature, we don't mean product, like feature within product that touches on security is evaluated by multiple parties internally and given the green light from an architectural perspective, from an implementation perspective. We also are in general SOC 2 compliant and are compliant with different types of security requirements. So we have the right processes in place to protect information, etc. But we also go through at least once a year third-party security assessments where the security of our products is evaluated by a third party, so we don't only rely on our own assessment. And that's an exercise we went through late last year after we released the password manager, and that we passed. Now, that's the general response to any type of new feature. I would say that in the case of our password manager, the fact that the information is stored locally, that it's synced in an end-to-end encrypted way, that our servers don't store everyone's vaults all the time and in a cloud accessible way, we think helps provides an additional layer of security and like comfort when it comes to doing this. So in general, regardless of what password manager you're using, it's much better to use a password manager than not to use one, because a password manager getting hacked is an edge case. It doesn't happen every day. There's a lot of people that spend a lot of time protecting these types of solutions more than they would normal applications like a productivity platform in general. So, and you don't rely, and you're not fully 100% relying on your users for every single password. And that's much more likely to be phished, social engineered, just like compromised in general. So general advice is, if you were to decide whether you want to use a password manager or not, definitely use a password manager. And then if you want to decide which type of password manager to use, we would advise you to use one that's following this hybrid approach, obviously, but I mean, we have a horse in that game. But more importantly, and that's more general, we would advise you to choose a password manager that's part of a directory platform that's going to give you these single sign-on, MFA, conditional access, Radius, LDAP, password management capabilities in one unified view, because password management on its own is not enough anymore.
Awesome. Yeah, we have quite a bit of questions around pricing, packaging, what's included with JumpCloud for MSPs, what isn't, how can I buy this? So we'll definitely have our sales team reach out to you, your account manager, account rep, reach out for specifics and any issues that you're having. If you're trying to deploy, you have some questions on it, we'll definitely follow up with that. But I believe we have the bulk of the questions outside of pricing and packaging answered. If there's anything I missed, feel free to throw them in. We'll stay on for a couple minutes just in case. But Antoine, Rob, do you have any closing remarks while we see if anyone else has any last minute questions?
I mean, if you have concerns, follow-on questions, if you're unsure about something, or asking yourself a question that you never asked out loud, just come to us. Like we pride ourselves in having in thinking about partnerships in a very serious way. So we're here to help answer technical questions, sales questions, marketing questions, obviously billing, pricing, these types of questions. And we want to be your allies in the market. Like, we're very serious about that. So just don't hesitate to reach out, email me, email Rob, like just use us, you know?
Awesome. Yeah, so I don't see any last minute questions coming in. So, okay, so we have a email in here to follow up with someone. So we definitely will follow up with you on that. So like I said, this has been recorded, so feel free to watch it again. Anything you missed, or you may have grabbed a snack or something in the middle of it. So definitely watch that, share with anyone on your team. There's also a brief survey at the end. So once we close this, it'll pop up. Let us know how we did, any questions that, like Antoine was saying, that maybe you didn't want to ask out loud, anything like that. Feel free to add it in there, and we'll definitely address it and get in contact with you. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Antoine. Thank you, Rob. It was definitely a great session, and hopefully we'll reach out to you very shortly with answers to your questions. So until the next one, thank you again, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.